Good morning, cultists. Welcome to Dessert Time with CthuLoops. This is a post-mortem of our Followers of Ash campaign. I'd like to start things off by apologizing to those of you who are disappointed that the campaign ended sooner than anticipated. I just thought it would make more sense to move on to something new rather than drag things on without a clear goal, and I'll address that again later on in the video. But let's begin with our dynasty. We are of course of House Goldscale, and at the very top, our founder is none other than Rattleskin, the only male ruler that we had, who actually turned out to be a pretty decent character despite not being a genius. I guess I don't really need to insist on everyone being a genius, but, you know, it's old habits die hard, right? So in any case, he actually managed to reform our religion in his lifetime, which is pretty incredible. But I guess it kind of helped that all the holy sites were fairly close by. Yeah, I think we kind of got lucky there. If anything, the hardest one was Tarragona, but I think we actually got that with a claim, and we ended up dueling the previous owner, right? I think so. Let me see if there's a history. Inherited, claimed in personal combat. Yep, I like that feature. I want to do that more. I want to be able to duel more people for territory and whatnot. That was awesome. In any case, Rattleskin, despite, I'm assuming, I don't actually know what his fertility was, but I'm assuming it wasn't at 100%, because I don't think I had that mod until Vanthus? Or when did I get that mod? I don't remember. I know it was fairly early on, but it wasn't with Rattleskin, I don't think. But anyways, despite not having 100% fertility, he still managed to have a few children. And by few, I mean a lot, because I guess it's, even as a dragon, it's still much easier to make children than as a male than as a female. And he was, of course, the first one to have our divine disease. Yeah, I think it kind of jumped a few generations and ended up back with Mediocra. In any case, Rattleskin had Pluten, Benedict Frenzel, Peggy, Transylvanian, Kondar, Grayscale Leo, Warjoker, Sovix, and Vanthus, Zeister, Average Rainbow, Mediocre, and Electro Slam. What was I gonna say? I forget now. Oh, yeah, so I actually really like this naming convention that we did here. So instead of having one generation just be nothing but, for example, in our previous campaign, if we went with that naming convention, the first generation would have been nothing but Pluten, the second generation would have been nothing but Fuchsias, or etc, etc. I think this kind of makes things a little bit more fair, and, you know, we'll just, you know, check the names off as we go down the list, and as they've had a chance to rule or whatever, if that makes any sense. Stop me if I'm rambling. Not that you can, but, you know, stop me if I'm rambling. In any case, I think we only had one genius child, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yeah, we only had the one genius child, and that was Vanthus. So Vanthus, when she took over, sorry, I actually don't remember much of our characters, because none of them were really super noteworthy. I know Rattleskin ended up with a fair number of kills for our first character. Wait, did Rattleskin get the... Yeah, Rattleskin got the two bloodlines. The one to drill our troops, and the other one to capture commanders, which I gotta say is very overpowered, but I love it a lot, because it's a lot of fun being able to capture prisoners and ransom them or sacrifice them, etc, etc. But would have been nice to, I guess, get another bloodline for this one. But then again, with my playstyle, I guess I tend to get a lot of war stuff. Maybe in the future I'll try to, I mean, if it's even possible, I'll try to aim for the architect one, where I think you need to build like certain number of holdings and whatever, but that's so expensive though. I don't know. In any case, when Vanthus took over, I think this is when we started going for the hedonism trait, because I realized that gave me extra fertility. I forget what her fertility ended up being, but I remember, I think it was actually decently high. Because Vanthus ended up having a fair bit of children too. Not as much as Rattleskin, obviously, but also not as few as Mediocre. And I think that's one of the dangers of having Inatic playthroughs, is just you might end up with female characters that are too old to produce enough children for you to have a safety blanket. But I don't know. I guess that's why if you're playing as an Inatic realm, you need to make sure that your other female family members have children and whatnot. So in case your heir ends up being too old to bear children, or you get unlucky or whatever, you can always fall back on them, if that makes any sense. But anyways, Vanthus, I think was... What else did Vanthus do? Vanthus had more kills. Yeah, I think this is when we started doing a lot of wars and raids, which is why we got all these people that we captured and offered up as sacrifice. I'm pretty sure the vast majority of them were... Actually, I'm seeing some alternation between died in the dungeons and being sacrificed. I think Vanthus is when we really started doing a lot of raiding. And that's why we ended up with a lot of people dying in our dungeons, because they couldn't pay for their ransoms. Oh well, but you know, that's how we made our money, so that's fine. Our primary export was ransoms. And I think Vanthus was the first one to well, it wasn't the first one that we had marry someone of our dynasty. No. Yeah. But Vanthus was the first one to quote unquote have a child with someone of our own dynasty. Of course, we know the truth. None of these children were sired by Vanthus's husband, Kondar. At least I don't think so. I'm pretty sure these are all illegitimate children that Kondar didn't notice. What was Kondar's intrigue? Yeah, okay, that explains it. That's why Kondar never caught on to the fact that Vanthus was having an affair. Nice. Got really lucky there, didn't we? Because I think until Mediocre, no one in our, none of the husbands noticed that their children were not their own. So Vanthus had 7 children with an illicit lover. Chad Raven was our first, who was a decent character, but wasn't a genius. Foosh was our second, who was actually a genius. And there we had Armchair Civilian, who died of rabies somehow. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm assuming it had something to do with the lunacy. Maybe he went crazy, bit a dog, and then the dog that had the dog happened to have rabies and bit him back or something. I don't know. But he died. And Maxwell, how did he become incapable? Maybe because of the slow fever? I know the slow fever, I know diseases can make you bedridden, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't make you incapable. I don't think he was actually commander either, because we don't have any male commanders. So my guess is that he just got old. Yeah, maybe that's it. And then there was another Pluten, since Pluten didn't really have a chance to rule. I actually should have taken Vanthus's name out of circulation here, but oh well. And then lastly we had Marios with Vanthus. And right, so Vanthus was the father. Wait, why did we end up... Oh, because of the stats. Yeah, so after Vanthus came Foosh, who married Vanthus. Not to be confused with the mother Vanthus, but the father Vanthus. I thought that, no, I guess we didn't have any male geniuses in our campaign. Except for Pacifax, I think. Who ended up in prison because he had an affair with someone else, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he did. Wait, with whom though? With whom did he have an incestuous affair? Wait, was it someone... Was it the fuck? Maybe? Oh no, he totally did. He had an affair with the fuck the feeble hairlet dragoness. Good grief. So anyways, Fush had 8 children. Zeister, followed by Dafuck, who was named thusly because of the various traits. And then Pacifax, our only male genius child. Sovix, Mediocra, our first genius daughter for Fush. And then Marios, the second genius. And Princess Grayscale Leo, the third genius. And finally Dumbass, who kind of acted as the combo breaker, I guess. Weird. So weird. It's like a string of geniuses, and then boom, you end up with Dumbass. Oh well. So Dafuck was the one that we got married to Copiad Eohippus, the one with the mutant Ironside bloodline, who surprisingly actually ended up having a child despite her relatively low fertility. At least it wasn't a whopping 0%, which is just atrocious, but I'll talk about that later. Anyways, kind of a shame that we won't be able to breed Blood Baguette though, because her fertility is 0%, but oh well. I mean, it's one of the pitfalls of this campaign, I guess. So in any case, with Pacifax we had... wait. Who was the bastard child then? Because we had Deathwing. So with whom did Kondar? Oh. Wait. Vanthus was born to Pacifax and Smokey. Fair enough. But that's not an incestuous relationship. I guess he had an affair with Dafuck, and also had an affair with Smokey. I see, I see. And I think Nyx was the one with whom we had an affair to have Deathwing, right? Yeah. Sadly ended up not being a genius, so yeah, written out of the will. In any case, Mediocra was the ruler that we kind of picked, I guess. Here's what I see as being kind of the issue of the open succession system. As powerful as it is, because it acts as like a de facto meritocracy where you get to like pick and choose your heir and whatnot. When you land your character or someone of your dynasty, you kind of throw caution to the wind, because then it gives them the, I guess, agency to do whatever the fuck they want, like picking the wrong ruler lifestyle focuses and whatnot, because they think when Mediocra took over Rustvania, she took the a rulership ambition and ended up being stressed and all that stuff. But I mean, I guess depressed. But I guess we can get depressed from any other from anything really. So I don't know. It's still kind of like annoying that you have to land your preferred heir, well, for the most part, unless you're going by I guess it kind of defaults to primogeniture if you don't have anyone landed, right? I thought for a second it went by prestige, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't do that. It just goes by primogeniture otherwise, so if you can end up with a really good child right off the bat, then inadequate will work, or sorry, open system will work perfectly. Otherwise, it's a bit of a crapshoot at times, because you can't really plan to die at a certain age unless you have depression, or you can somehow, I guess if you're mortal, you can actually die by dueling someone, or you know, poisoning yourself or whatever and whatnot. So I guess that kind of works, but then you need to be immortal, which actually I think we could have accomplished with our first ruler, Rattleskin, because I'm pretty sure that Marshall... Oh. Oh yeah, Ahaita. She's still around. She is 156 years old, so she is without a doubt an immortal character. I wonder if there are others though. Who is the oldest? Oh, it is Aihata. I see, followed by TC the Gentle, who I think is the... Yeah, she's the learning-focused, immortal character. Now, I wonder if she's actually immortal or not. Not that it would really matter, but, interesting. Anyways, yeah. So she's definitely a confirmed mystic, and I guess we could have been immortal right from the get-go, which I think would have actually made the campaign a lot easier and a little less frustrating, because then I wouldn't have need to worry about the diseases and whatnot. I guess it could have still killed my children, but I think we would have ended up with the bloodline that gives us extra health to our immortality. So if we have people who are of dragon culture in our court, then they would basically just walk off various diseases and all that shit. So I don't know. But I guess it kind of defeats the purpose of having an inatic playthrough. But on the other hand, if we had a male ruler who was immortal in an inatic world, we basically could have seduced all of our vassals and had children with them, etc., and kept them in line. So if you're ever in a situation where you have a male character in an inatic world, and you have the opportunity to take immortality, I say go for it. Because, I mean, unless you want to give yourself a bit of a challenge, because I think once you do that, it basically just removes vassal management entirely from the whole game. But, I don't know. Could be fun though, but it's all up to you, I suppose, on your definition of fun. In any case, where were we? So, we took over as Mediocra at the very old age of 42, I think, which may have been the oldest ruler that we inherited as. She was married to Pacifax, who wasn't quite as dumb as our previous fathers, because he clued in that that Mediocra was definitely cheating on him behind his back. And I guess in retaliation, maybe he decided to fuck his sister and also someone else to have a child. I think that's what happened. Yeah, because Vanthus here is of our dynasty. Interesting. Very interesting. So despite it being inatic, this is still an uncontested... Wait. Child of concubine? What? Wait, what? But we don't have concubines. The fuck? What the hell? That's weird. How did that happen? You're not... That's very odd. 'Cause I'm pretty sure she wasn't of a different religion. At least I don't think so. Even so, wouldn't make sense, because I think it actually depends on the guy's merit or the religion, whether or not he can take on concubines. Huh. Okay. Oh no, I think it actually depends on the ruler's religion. I could be wrong. But wow, that's very bizarre. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. But, alright. In any case, we actually got really lucky in that we had Avalon Lunatica, our only genius child, when Mediocre was 44 years old. So we just barely made the cutoff there. It's a shame that we'll never rule as her, but in any case. Yeah, that's basically it for our dynasty. It wasn't as long as I, you know, as I made it in the past, I guess. But a little bit longer than I expected. I guess I tend to ramble and whatnot. So in any case, let's go through kind of the review of this campaign. there were definitely parts of it that I enjoyed, and parts of it that I thought were very, very not cool. So let's go through the positives first, or should we go through the negatives first? You know what? Let's say the good for last. So the main gripe that I had with this campaign was that it felt untested. You know what I mean? It felt like it was kind of tacked on. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Have you ever played the hit video game Command & Conquer Red Alert? Do you remember the expansion pack? What was it? Ah, shoot. It was Counter-Strike. Yes, that's it. If you've ever played the expansion pack Counter-Strike for Command & Conquer Red Alert, you may remember there being a secret campaign that you can access by holding down Shift and then clicking on the speaker in the main menu that gives you access to the Command and Conquer campaign, which I believe is a secret series of mission where that takes place after all the Cold War stuff is done and the world is being basically devastated by giant ants and shit. The way that you access the animal world and animal kingdom stuff in Crusader Kings 2, I thought was very reminiscent of that. So to me, it felt a little bit like that, but in this case, way shittier. And I don't mean to shit on the work of the hard work of all the developers that added this kind of free feature to this. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm being an entitled gamer or like being ungrateful, but it felt very untested. Like the whole negative 50% fertility for dragons. Without player intervention, the dragon culture will definitely go extinct. I don't know if that was in their intention or not, but that is severely debilitating because we have so many people of the dragon culture that have zero fertility and they do nothing to fix that at all. I mean, I guess it could have taken the enabled the AI seduction focus on, but still, I think that just, I don't know, that's a whole a different can of worms. I think they could have toned down some of the bonuses, like maybe 3 health instead of 2. And the personal combat skill definitely doesn't need to be 30. I don't know. I mean, I feel like personal combat skill plus 30 is a decent bonus, but with the RNG factored into the way that duels work, I feel like it's not as great of a bonus as much of a debilitation as fertility negative 50% is, as well as general opinion negative 10. I feel like dragons, maybe it's just dragons are, maybe we can justify it as dragons being like wary of each other and all that such, and wanting to protect their hoard and their gold from each other. I don't know. But the general opinion negative 10 is also a pretty big factor. National tax modifier, maybe that's how we earned a decent amount of money, but I feel like 10% isn't a huge deal, so I don't know. I just feel like it's definitely untested, especially with the disease system and whatnot. Because the epidemic system in the normal game, when not everyone starts out being tribal, kind of works decently, I guess. But in this system, especially since they have an achievement that's specifically tied to everyone starting out as being tribal or nomadic, and the player most likely being the first one to become feudal, if they've got that design in mind, it's weird to me that they didn't bother to check how that would interact with this scenario where the player essentially starts out being the only feudal realm in the entire world and all fucking epidemics just piled right on top of their realm. I don't know. It was definitely frustrating to say the least, and I think if we weren't dragon, that would have been a much more serious issue, but because we were dragon and we had the +4 to health, it kind of worked out that we were more or less kind of safe from the majority of them. But still a danger though, because you know you can end up being bedridden and have that that bonus from being what's it, a dragon, just essentially nullified and all that stuff. So I think the animal world system, or sorry, not just the animal world, but in addition to that, the random world and shattered world system definitely needs a bit more reworking. Like, they need to figure out the epidemic system to work a little bit better with this, and they need to reconfigure some of the cultural benefits and malices that you get from being certain species. Like, I guess the elephants aren't as bad. It's like it's more like a toned down version of the being a dragon. But there's things like being a duck, for example. All bonuses: siege speed 20%, fertility 25%. Can raid overseas with ships. Rulers can raid infidel neighbors for loot. But then again, I guess we get to burn people and devour people as well. So I don't know. Maybe it was their intention for dragons to eventually go extinct and all that such, but doesn't really make much sense in my opinion. But in any case, I think that's kind of the two or the few major gripes that I had about this campaign. I don't know if there's anything else that really kind of sticks out at me. No, I don't think so. Would have been cool to have, I guess, more achievements tied to this, but the fact that they added 3, and for some reason the achievement to establish an empire in a shattered world didn't pop for me for whatever reason. So from what I've read, it's incredibly easy to get that achievement. All you need to do is start a new game in a shattered world. Everyone is tribal or nomadic, and then just pick a nomadic ruler. And then bing bang boom, Bob's your monkey's uncle. You start the game because you already have a cognate title, which is technically an emperor title. You get the achievement right off the bat, so easy peasy. So I'll probably do that to get the missing achievement there. But we did get the other ones though, like the Rise of Civilization, where you become the first one, or where you become feudal in a tribal world or nomadic world. I think I could be wrong. I think that's the achievement. Oh, so sorry. Another thing that I want to mention is the quality of some of the portraits definitely seem to differ. For example, the dragon portraits look great, look absolutely fantastic. There's even sexual dimorphism with the two genders. It's not much, but it's something there. It's like the colors are different. The snout's a little bit longer for the males. The chest sticks out a little bit more. There's that. With the elephants, very cool because they've got the different MacLeods and all that such. And the female ones don't have tusks. The bulls do. The horses, between the males and the stallions, they have, you know, different coloration. And they definitely look different. Like the female, the mares look softer in their features, which is pretty cool. The foals have different portraits as well, and the dragons having eggs as their children portraits, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And the elephants having, their little cute elephant babies, also pretty awesome. And then there's the hedgehogs, who also have varying portraits, very cool quality. Ducks, good quality. Bears, fucking adorable. What else is there? There's the red pandas, also adorable and very good quality. All this is leading up to somewhere, I promise. And then you have the fucking cats. Like, what happened? Did they just add cats at the very last second? Be like, I think we actually need like maybe one more animal race. What do you guys think? Let's just get a cat. Yeah, sure. Do we still have the artists who worked on the other species? No, we figured that we didn't need another one. I mean, I don't mean to shit on the work of the artists if they did in fact work on this, and I apologize. Again, I don't mean to sound like an entitled person or someone who's not appreciative, but the quality just seems so different. Because the male and female cats, I get it. In real life, there's not a lot of sexual dimorphism between male and female cats. At least as a non-cat person, I can tell the difference between a cat and a male cat and a female cat. But it's a color palette swap. Wait, I guess it's kind of the same with the dogs too. Ish? Yeah, ish, a little bit, but then there's different, you know, clothes and all that stuff, which is pretty fucking cool. But then the cats is just like a straight palette swap. That's it. There's no variation. And what's up with the fucking kitten portraits? It's blurry, it's off-center, it's like someone googled really shitty, royalty-free photo of a kitten, and then just added this little toga thing on it. Like, come on. Where's the same love and dedication that went into putting a fucking egg, an egg, as a portrait? What happened to that? I mean, it's hilarious, but I don't know if they actually meant it to be this kind of hilarious. It's just, what happened? Oh man. Sorry, I'm just kind of ranting at this point. But I just wanted to voice my kind of like thoughts and opinions. It's not a game breaker. That's the thing. That all of these things, it's not a game breaker. You can work around them. If you play this kind of scenario in the future, I would strongly advise you either wait for someone else to become feudal or start in a place that's not an island. I had no idea how the epidemic system worked, so maybe I kind of brought it on myself by playing, starting off as in a nation that's just basically a giant island. I think if you start more inland, there's a lower chance of the epidemics just completely blasting you in the ass. I could be wrong, but because I've actually seen some epidemics spawn in around this region too, which is definitely landlocked, but I don't know. So that's it's all kind of workaroundable, and the fertility issue is, well, I mean, it kind of acts as a an ad hoc viceroyalty, so there's good and bad. But it's very annoying because it's essentially a county viceroyalty too, which is not a thing in the base game. But yeah. So finally, on to the good stuff. Some of the benefits of having being able to burn prisoners as well as devour them, very cool. We didn't get to actually acquire any traits though, which is kind of a shame, but still very cool that that's there. And I think my favorite part of this campaign was seeing the individual counties kind of get swallowed up and form these blobs. It was a very kind of organic forming of the blobs, and a super fascinating thing to watch happen, because I had no interaction with a lot of these guys. I was kind of like sequestered in to this region at first, and then I kind of eventually moved down here, so I guess I had some interaction with this area here. But I had no interaction with these guys. I don't have any interaction with them, and the fact that they managed to blob this hard, and some of them even being led by people who don't have the Great Conqueror bloodlines, really fucking cool. Really, really cool. Yeah. It's kind of a shame that we didn't get to fulfill our initial goal of beating all the other Great Conqueror bloodlines and absorbing their bloodlines and whatnot. But I think defeating all the other Great Conquerors is too ambitious of a goal for our situation. I mean, it's definitely doable, but it's a world conquest. It's essentially a world conquest. Something that I can't really do on a playthrough on a Let's Play series on YouTube without some heavy editing, which I don't like to do. Because that'll require me to cut out a lot of the stuff in between. I just don't have the time for it. I don't have time to play CK2 for 24 hours, like 7 days a week, just to get to that point and deliver that content like every day. It's impossible for me because I need to make series on other games as well, and also stream on the weekends and things like that. So it's just not doable. It's just not a feasible thing for me. It's doable as a horse lord, as a nomad, but not as a feudal system, that's for sure. But yeah, and the fact that dragons have most dragons have 0 fertility, I think kind of put a giant crimp in our plans to have a bloodline integrating goal. That was definitely not something we could have seen, or that I foresaw at least. So yeah, there's that. Otherwise, I think it would have been a cool ambition if all the great conquerors were around just Europe. I think that would have been achievable for sure, because then we would have had a much more realistic goal that we could have accomplished. But with the majority of the bloodlines being owned by the red pandas, I think 3 or 4 of them were red pandas, if I'm not mistaken. Because we had Mr. Tigglywink the hedgehog, Ironside the horse, Mittens the cat, Egbert the duck, and I'm actually really glad that there was basically a bloodline for each culture. There's 1 of the pandas, 2 pandas, 3 pandas, 4 pandas, 2 dragons, 1 elephant, sorry, 2 elephants, and sorry, was it 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 red panda great conqueror bloodlines. So the vast majority of them were just in here, just in this region alone, which is pretty insane. Would have been cooler if they were distributed out a little bit more, but oh well. I suppose the game decided that they were spread far enough apart that it made sense for them to do that. It's a real shame that the one AI that actually managed to fulfill their ambition of forging a unique bloodline died off. I think, I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time that I've ever seen an AI actually achieve that ambition. I don't think I've ever seen this done so far. So to see this just get completely wiped out despite my intervention of trying to get her daughter to breed, despite the fact that I did that and it got wiped out, was very disappointing. But it is what it is. And it's also disappointing that we never actually got her sword. Just ended up with some random asshole. Yeah. Because we even brought that last guy in who somehow got the sword from someone else. Wow, okay. That's awesome. But yeah. So I mentioned that it was very cool to see this organic kind of blobbing happening. Another thing that I really liked was just the fact that random Shattered Worlds kind of works. It might not work in the sense of epidemics, but barring that, it works. It's so cool to see all the kind of familiar de jure kingdoms get divided up into different parts. They get different names. My tip for people who want to play this kind of game, Shattered World or Random World, stick with random kingdom names, but keep the duchy names the same, because I'm seeing a lot of redundancy here. Like, what is this? Old Mlechaya? That I've seen like repeated 50 million times. And yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of repetition between, and it says, it actually does say that be warned, if you do repeating duchy name or random duchy names, there's gonna be a lot of repetition. I didn't think how much of a repetition, I didn't realize how much of a repetition there would be, but it's a lot. So I would recommend, just if you're going to randomize anything, just stick with randomizing the kingdom names, but not the duchy names, because it can get a little confusing. So that's my little tip for you guys. But otherwise, again, it was really cool to see the random map generation work. And it really just, I guess, adds to the infinite replayability of Crusader Kings 2. I would recommend maybe not doing an animal world, or if you do, maybe be wary of which species you take, because if you're gonna go with a dragon, or maybe even an elephant to a lesser extent, be prepared to experience what I experienced, which is essentially county level viceroyalties, which could be good or bad, but at times I definitely found it annoying because I tend to not pay attention to a lot of the notifications that I get, and I end up with being over my domain limit and people being angry at me and being wondering why. I mean, it only takes me a second to realize that, but still, something that you have to be cognizant of the entire time. But yeah, like I said, there was definitely some enjoyable parts to this campaign. It wasn't just me getting constantly frustrated. There's a lot of that for sure, but very cool, and definitely a feature that I very much so appreciate. I just kind of wish that it was play tested a little bit more, and hopefully something that can be patched out, because I'd really rather not rely on mods or editing myself, because that's just going to disable Iron Man mode, and I like playing on Iron Man mode, for better or for worse. I just like those achievements, what can I say? But yeah, that was a pretty long rant. I apologize. I didn't think that this, post-mortem would go on for this long. And thank you to those of you who stuck around for as long as you have. Oh, before we go, I guess we should check out the different map modes, yeah? So, Ashism is still primarily in the British Isles, though it is kind of spreading down south a little bit. But what with the nature of our religion being what it is, I don't think people are actively proselytizing unless they're zealous, which is fine, you know, it's just how it goes. Were you zealous at some point? Or wait, how did that work out? No, still ended up being converted somehow. Weird. Not that I'm complaining, but yeah. And the Creed of the Carefort still is now mostly sequestered in the Iberian Peninsula. These guys are strongly Hoofingtonard. Gortinian, which I never really got to interact with. And then there's these guys that kind of just, you know, I guess we never got to interact with either. It's kind of a shame. But yeah, Trumpoist and Albanian, Cult of Zaya, Rutogian. Very cool to see this kind of like shift back and forth. Culture-wise, I'm pretty sure everything has mostly stuck as is, except for this area here, which is now being converted to horse culture. Yeah. Would have been cool to interact with the bears and ducks and hedgehogs and red pandas a bit more. I don't think we had any interaction with them whatsoever. Maybe? Maybe some of the bears? Yeah, but oh well, that's fine. And that's the government map mode. So definitely some feudalism breaking out down here, which is pretty cool. Some Ikta happening in these eastern parts. But otherwise, still mostly tribal, which I guess doesn't really surprise me, because it is relatively difficult to break out of tribalism, well, with the strict requirements and all that such. So yeah, I get it. All right, well, that's going to be it for our post-mortem. I apologize for the kind of like rambling nonsense that might have sprouted forth from my mouth. I'm very tired. My sleep schedule has been completely batshit fucking crazy, and it's definitely playing a bit of a role on my health and mental health and whatnot too. So I apologize for the rambling. I tried to make it as make as much sense as I could, but I think I may have failed at certain parts or for the entire thing. But thank you to those of you who stuck around till the end. If not, I mean, if you even spent like a few minutes or whatever, just listening to me ramble, thank you very much. And yeah, just let me know what you guys thought about the campaign overall. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. I mean, I'm assuming your least favorite parts is me just constantly complaining about the various diseases and all that crap, but then maybe just stick with your favorite parts? Oh well, that's fine. And who knows, maybe we can do another random world in the future. Maybe not a shattered world. I think a random world might work a little bit better due to the way that epidemics work. But if we do a shattered world, then maybe we'll just have everyone be feudal. That way, you know, we're all kind of all on more equal footing. So that could work. And we might not do an animal world at that point because of the difficulties with fertility and all that such. So who knows? Could be fun. I think it's definitely worth trying out in the future. But we're probably not going to return to this exact scenario until, at least until, they vastly fix things, I think. Or if we do, we'll at least not play as dragons in an island nation. But yeah, I think I have an idea of what our next campaign is going to be. The vote's still going on at the time of recording. So hopefully the next campaign will be a lot more kind of like goal-oriented, and it should be, because I made sure to make all the campaign choices and the polls have very specific goals, I guess. Alright, so thank you guys so much for keeping up, and as I say at the last and first episodes of our each series, if you like this postmortem, please leave a like. Just let me know what you thought about in the comments. If you're not already, be sure to subscribe, and I'll bring you more, hopefully with less rambling. And if you'd like to support me financially, you can do so via Patreon or by joining the channel as a member. You get special perks like access to the Discord channel, voting rights on what we play for future campaigns and games, as well as naming rights for certain tiers and all that such. Alright, so thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing breakfast.